Yes, my friends, I know it is January. It's been almost 2 months since the Snowbound Expo came and went in Boston for 2024. And in 2025, they will return. But before we get to the fall, we're still talking to people that I met up in Boston or down in Boston this past year. And that continues today. Fun fact, Raccoon Media, those who run the Snowbound Expo, that's a company from the UK. All the employees they bring over here are from the UK. And it's kind of awesome to talk to them about that kind of commute. Oh, yes, some of us sit in traffic for a couple of hours. They have to get on a plane to commute to work for the event. You know what I'm saying? But today's guest, also from the UK, my second biggest audience outside the US, or actually my biggest audience outside the US, is from the UK. A lot of UK friends over there, and today that continues with Louise Pode, whom I met at the Snowbound Expo. We're going to get into who she is and what she does right here on the old Ski Rex Media podcast.
Snowboard side by side.
So everybody, still doing stuff from Snowbound, the Snowbound Expo, meeting new people. Now, granted, and this is kind of awful because I was just telling today's guest how I'm actually ahead of the game on many things. There are a couple things I am still catching up from the Snowbound Expo, but it's not really behind. It's more, it just had to be rescheduled. That's all it is. So we're still pretty good here. Anyway, Snowbound Expo is a great place to meet new people. It's a social event. Snow sports are a social event. Snowbound Expo is a social event as well. And sometimes you get that text message, that phone call that says, hey, look at me over here. I'll talk to you for a minute. And I say, okay, I'll do that too. And today we have another new friend of ours, again, from across the Atlantic in the UK, Miss Louise Pode. Miss Louise, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you very much. From a chilly UK, so I'm fine. Yeah, delighted to be here.
And we do like the sound of chilly because it is it's cold here, but we have rain here in New England today. It is December 11th. I know you're hearing this day one on January, but that's okay because we're ahead of the game here and doing things and getting ready. I'm just pumping them out. It's a lot of fun. So, Miss Louise, we met at Snowbound, so I know who you are, but the audience doesn't. So let's start with that. The most easiest, obvious question, who you are and what you do.
Oh, so yeah, I am a coach. So my day job over here in the UK is an executive and personal development coach, but I have a bit of a sideline, which is my passion, which is I am a mindset coach for anxious skiers. And that all started 8 years ago. It was very much a personal journey for me. I was that anxious skier back in the day. I had a husband who was literally born on skis. And as soon as the kids hit 3, they were on skis. And he was like, we won't put them in ski school. I don't want to put them off. We'll teach them. So he would teach them and I would scoop everybody up and give them the hot chocolate. Then I had my hips replaced, which was pretty unusual in my 30s. So I kind of had a good reason to have some hesitancy about my skiing. And
Sure.
Anyway, it was fine. And then it just kind of just one thing or another. My anxiety grew over the years. Everybody else got brilliant and I didn't. And I felt very left behind. Family were amazing, but I just didn't feel it. And then had a big skiing accident, was on crutches for 4 months. So that, Tim, was my turning point, my sliding doors moment. And that sliding doors moment took me on the journey to where I am now, where it's made it my real specialist niche. And I love the work that I do. And I took myself off to be a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, which is about how you reframe your thoughts, how you change the language that you use. And it was brilliant. It worked a treat. It was transformational. So I reached my goal, which was falling back in love with skiing with my family. But then journalists, love journalists. We have a journalist over here called Julia Brooks in one of our main weekend newspapers. And somebody wrote into Julia saying, I'm a really anxious skier and I'm going on holiday with a family in 3 months and I don't want to ruin the family holiday. And I recognised that straight away. And she, anyway, directed us to all these very technical courses. And I just thought, that's not going to do anything for her anxiety. I need to share what I've been doing. And that was the beginning of my ski coaching journey, that I started to share my strategies. I started to work with a ski company who took clients out to northern Italy, to Champalooc, and it was amazing. Worked with incredible women. And that was fantastic until COVID came along, which all started in northern Italy. Arrived in northern Italy. That was
ground
the end
zero
of that.
right there.
Yeah. And then... so on the back of that, coming through that, we came out of COVID and the ski company I'd worked with no longer existed because you all know we went through Brexit as well as COVID, which was pretty catastrophic over here in the UK. And so I partnered with New Generation, a ski school who run ski schools across the whole of the Alps, because they really recognise a lot of their instructors were working with anxious skiers. And they felt that if those clients could have that coaching before they stepped onto the resort and worked with their instructors, that they would be in a much better place. And that led me to running coaching courses in Courchevel, 1650, fantastic resort in France, and started working with the Ski Club of Great Britain, and then with Ellis Brigham, who's a big provider of a family-owned company of outdoor kit here in the UK. So run masterclasses for them all around the UK. And really, for me, it's about spreading that word, because I work with amazing people, always women, interesting, never had any male clients. I've had men saying, I'd love my wife to do your course. And it's like, that's great, but actually she needs to want to do it herself. And if she does, then that's, that's fantastic. It will work like magic for her, because you need that inner motivation. So that is how I have ended up. So was speaking at the London Snow Show this year, which was brilliant. And on the back of that, got invited out by Vail Resorts to Boston Snowbound, which is where I met you, Tim. So that's how we got to where we are today.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful niche to be in when we hear about coaching, especially in snow sports. It's usually technique. How's your technique? Can your technique get better? Bend your knees, carve your skis, do this, that, and the other. Pizza, French fries, whatever you want to call it. The V, the wedge, whatever. We hear about that all the time, but the mind is where the game is. The mind, the emotional, the mental. I mean, I know it. I lack confidence sometimes in my abilities. And it's great to know that there's some people out there addressing that. So let's see how you do address that. And we'll start in a more general sense. And I know we talked about more of the woman centric, that at Boston, that's what we talked about, but let's start with a general. How do you approach it? Because it is such a niche, it's probably something none of us have even considered or done. So how do you approach that? How do people approach you? How does it work?
So the first thing for me is being visible. It's like, how do people know I'm out there? So having an opportunity to do a podcast like this, I write lots of blogs. I'm out there talking about it all the time. And so a lot of my clients come through word of mouth, because I think the thing is, many women feel like they're the only ones out there. They don't think that other people feel like this, and they're not alone. I would call it almost like a silent struggle on the slopes. And so just getting that word out and saying, actually, it's okay to be anxious. It's fine. Anxiety is a really important emotion. It's our safety mechanism for flight or flight. It keeps us on point. It's only when it overwhelms us, it starts to put us in a more vulnerable position. So that really championed that it's okay to feel anxious. You're on a mountain with a pair of skis on. Let's look at how you can manage that anxiety. Let's look at how we can stop it from overwhelming you. So there are several different approaches that I take, Tim, because my background is as a physiotherapist. And as a physiotherapist, I did a lot of work for the British military. And when I was working for the military, I became very focused on how do you optimize the environment that you're working in to really create performance. So that took me off to do a master's in ergonomics at Loughborough University. And that really introduced me to the emotional environment that you step into. And I think that is something that's really key. See it a lot in the UK, that people would say that it's quite an ego-driven sport. It's quite male-dominated. And it's the way that women can be made to feel, not necessarily with intent by their partners or their groups, but it's just how it manifests itself. So actually creating the right environment is really important. be able to nurture your skiing, to enable you to feel safe and feel secure, so you don't feel pressurized. And so creating that with the group that you go with, the type of resort, all that side of things. The second really key part of the coaching is how to enable you to keep your mind in a calm position. I've done this many a time myself, and I think many would relate to this, that you're on a red, you've stopped, you've got stuck, it's looking steep, it's looking icy, people are falling, you're facing the wrong way on the edge of the run, you've got to turn around from a standing start, and literally you freeze, your heart's pounding, you're feeling sick, you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm about to fall, there's a lot of catastrophizing going on. You are in a very vulnerable position like that because your mind is literally getting into panic mode. And it's like, how do you switch that? How do you get yourself back into that calm mode so you can think logically about how you can get yourself out of that situation? That is so important because that is what will keep you safe. And often it's that anxiety comes from that uncertainty, supposing it gets too steep, supposing there's a narrow bit. But if you know that whenever you come across those bits that you can keep yourself calm and look at it with curiosity, think, okay, how am I going to manage this? Rather than that, oh my God, your head down, just kind of ploughing your way through it, leaning on the back of your skis, creating that reality of almost inevitably falling over or having an accident is the second kind of piece to it. And then the third piece is, how do you anchor the right emotions to be with you? So how do you want to feel on the mountain? What's it about for you? What's your goal? What's that feeling, that emotional goal that you're looking for? So that's kind of like the final piece in the jigsaw.
It's a lot. That's a lot to go through. And you somehow are able to do that. I love that. If you could put all that together. So like you said, well, first let's translate a little bit here. When Louise says red, for us, that's blue going into black here in North America. Just so you know, I actually do know that. But it's just one of those things. I don't know why I know that, because I wouldn't know that in the Asian colors either. There is no set system, my friends. We pretend there is, there isn't. Just be careful no matter what you do. But so we talk about how it's not always, well, male dominated ideology. That's what we're talking about. And it's, again, not anything that anyone does with intent. As you said, yeah, your husband, boyfriend, best friend, whomever it might be a hard charger. It's just the way he is. Maybe it's testosterone, maybe it's not. I don't know. You might be able to speak to that more. Why are the men doing that type of thing? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a physiotherapist. I'm not anything. I'm nobody. So what do you got on that part of it?
I think that's a really interesting point, Tim, because over in UK, it tends to be you have one family week skiing. We don't tend to do it on a weekend basis. It's like you might have one or potentially two. So you have your 1 week trip with all the family and all the friends. And everybody's going with their own sense of purpose. They might want to ski every corner of the resort from dawn until dusk, first lift, last lift, no lunch. They might want to go and find the powder. They might want to do off-piste. They might want to beat their siblings. Everybody, the female often just wants to get through it and survive the week. Everybody's going with a different intent, and that can put a lot of pressure on. A lot of my clients, the husbands that will always book the skiing holiday, they'll always book the lunches. It's a one holiday they take control of because they absolutely love it. They've got a lot riding on it. They invest a lot of money in it. They've got all the best mates and the family with them, and it's like, let's just go. But if you're feeling intimidated and you're feeling anxious, you will pick up on even somebody saying to you, oh, of course you can do it. You've done this run loads of times. You'll be fine. That's just like more pressure being put on you than they're thinking, oh my God, I won't be fine. I can't do this. I don't want to do it. What am I doing here? So that it creates that. And I think the other reason is certainly, women of their over 40s that have grown up where they've facilitated the children, they've been managing kids at home, the husband's been going off having his boys' trips. You go to Europe, flights into Geneva, predominantly male. When you're out of the school holidays, predominantly male, their boys going on their boys' trips. So they get all that extra skiing that the women don't get. So you're only doing it once a year. When you're there, you've got some anxiety, facilitating everybody else. And then you've been so busy facilitating everybody else that they are suddenly amazing. They're off speeding around the parish. And you just kind of feel abandoned and left behind. And so that's how it tends to manifest itself.
And that was the interesting thing about it to me when we talked in Boston. It was that specific, the one scenario that you talked about that I could understand is like mom does everything. Mom is the logistics specialist in the family. that's pretty common from people from my generation anyway. My mom always knew where we were, what we were doing, when, how, why. That's why you always ask mom, because she knows where everything is. Dad don't know what's going on. It's just the way it is, But, old sitcom jokes aside, I can understand getting not only lost in the fray. Like if you have your hard charger partner who's like, I love skiing, I'll do it. Now, in my relationship, my girlfriend, she has no problem with it because she doesn't do it, has no interest in it. If she's going along, she's just going to sit in the lodge anyway, read books and drink coffee, which is where she would prefer to be anyways, drinking coffee. But, to get lost in the fray, number one, and two, to get those little unintentional pressure statements. And again, nobody intends to do that. And that is something I can relate to in a way. I'll be in a conversation and someone will be, like, even though it sounds positive, it's like, all right, it's too much pressure in mind. Like maybe I can't do it. And it sends you off on a tizzy and it's a whole thing that I can relate to. Oddly enough, though, just while I'm thinking about it, it might also be a little hard for me which is great why we find Louise here. As I always say on Ski Rex Media, if I don't know what I'm talking about, I go find someone who does. And this one who knows, what she's talking about found me, which is even better and easier on me. Talk about removing all the anxiousness and anxiety. But before I lose track, it's the cultural ski thing. You're right. The United Kingdom is not known for having giant mountains and tons of ski hills, where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within a half hour's drive, at least 5, 6 actually, if you go to 32 minutes. I could do it every day at a different place.
Wow.
It's a little different for me because so now people who ski like that, like families who come up every weekend, now it's a little different. We can get into that part too, but mom does get left behind. And that's where I was going with this, is that you were talking about how, mom's doing this part of the trip, so she's not on skis. And then the kids are growing up. Everybody's off doing her thing. She gets back on skis at a later age. It's nerve wracking. It is anxiety ridden. I did something similar. I was off skis for 6 years. I was terrified the first time I did it. So I can only imagine, and I did it a lot. So I can imagine someone who doesn't do it. It's gotta be, I don't want to use the words panic attacks and things like this, but it's got to be up there. No? Yes? Maybe?
It is. Yeah. It kind of tips you over. And the thing is, once you start to get some anxiety, you look for everything that builds on it. It's really hard to, you're focusing on all the barriers and the reasons why you're not enjoying it. And it's really hard to see the pathway through. So one of the first conversations I have with my clients is to get an understanding about why have they come to me? What is the why behind their skiing? Why is it that they really want to crack this particular nut? Because there are many women out there who don't, and that's absolutely fine. They'd rather not ski with their family. They'd rather stay at home, and that's absolutely fine. But those that don't, it creates a lot of anxiety. And often when you peel back the why, it's because they love being with their family. They love having team family experiences. The mountains are a very beautiful place. So they get there, but then they have to deal with everything that goes with it, which creates this crossing all their values that are really important, like being part of the family where they feel isolated. They can't keep up with the family. Family are all over there having a whale of a time. I mean, I'll have clients who be peeled off with the ski instructor for a day. And so they never ski with their family. And they get together in the evening, the family all laughing about their jokes and what they've been up to. And they just feel so isolated. And that is crossing those core values. And that is, that's where this kind of really comes from. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And what I would say, my family, oh my God, my husband's obviously a great skier, 3 children, 2 have done a ski season, 1's an instructor. They are incredible skiers. They've been skiing since they were 3. They love the powder. I am not that skier. I am not somebody who'll jump off a cool wire. I'm not an Olympic skier. I love my skiing and I will ski most things. But I have an absolute ball with my family. We have such a good time. They're so pleased that I'm part of the group. I'm delighted to be there. And we mix and match it between us so that it's a massive team experience. You don't have to be at the same level of ski. This isn't about what level of skier you are. This is about how you feel about your skiing. That's the difference. So when I work with clients to create a goal for them, it's not an objective goal. It's a goal about your emotions. How do you want to feel on the slopes? What are we working towards? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? Okay, let's look at how we're going to get you there. That's the subtle difference.
And that is a beautiful, beautiful difference. I say it all the time. I say, look, it doesn't matter how good you are. Be good enough so you don't get hurt or hurt someone else, of course. But there's no wrong way. If you want to go out and ride groomed trails all day, I'll do it with you. Like, that's where I'm at now. That's what I like to do. I don't need to be in trees or waist deep powder or 10,000 foot, 7,000 miles of vertical, all this other stuff. And for my metric friends, please do the math. Usually I do it, but I'm tired. So, but anyway, all right, I'll put it like this. I have used the word, we talk about Louise, what she does from a woman's point of view, a woman's standpoint, and being in that situation, but she's really family centric. She's putting the families back together on the hill, and the skiing is a family sport. It's a social sport. Snowboarding as well, obviously snowboards. Same with cross country, man. You can see whole families just out there doing it. And that's the goal. That is the point. And, it is awesome when I see, like, I have plenty of friends who are able to do moms, dads, kids. They're all out there and they're all having a blast. But sometimes that gets, a little janky, it doesn't always work out. So how do you get back to it? And that is what Louise is doing. She's showing people how to get back.
And what's really interesting, Tim, is because the women tend to be the facilitators, the givers, that they're not very good at putting themselves first and thinking, how can I invest in myself to overcome this? So I would say to them, look, this is an investment for your family and friends, for all those future experiences that they're going to have with you when you crack this. Because if you think of all those photographs that are going to be taken over the years, and for you not to be in it, not to be part of that, for the gap to be where you might have been, and that's fine if you actually choose not to, but for it to be anxiety that stops you being there, that's really hard. That's really hard. And I think it's that real drive about wanting to be part of it, to have a great time, because you can bet your bottom dollar that if your family is skiing, as your children grow up, they would always come on the skiing holiday. If you provided a skiing holiday, they would be there. And as a mum, if you stepped away, then you're going to miss out on all that. And that's really, really hard. And so there are lots of reasons why women want to, I have women who are coming back to skiing because they want to ski with their grandchildren. That's just like amazing. You can imagine, they're 60s, 70s, 80s, out there playing around with your grandchildren on the slopes, skiing. Isn't that what it's about? I mean, that's the very essence for me of what this is about. Just to be able to love it. Just love it. You don't have to be able to do all the hard stuff, but the more you love it, the rest of it will just naturally follow. My skiing style changed completely over 2 or 3 years because I was so much more relaxed. I wasn't leaning back. I wasn't resisting and leaning back into the mountain, being all rigid upright and driving around every corner and putting 7 turns for everybody else's one. That really physical. You just let all that go, and it just makes such a difference. And I think one of the things that I really picked up on at Snowbound, which I love, so talking to all the different resorts which were there, which was great, is there are many programs out there supporting women, empowering women to ski, and that's fantastic. And I suppose my piece really sits before that. My piece comes in enabling you, if you're going to engage with a program, to improve your confidence on the slopes and work with an instructor who's really focused on that. If you can understand those strategies ahead of time about how you can manage that mindset, how you can keep yourself calm, how you can manage those situations, and it means that you're so much more open to the learning. You'll have a much more open mindset. Because when you're anxious, your mindset tends to close down. You get quite defensive. You don't want to learn new techniques. You just want to stick to the same runs. You just I just need to get through it. I need to, you're not looking around. You're not curious about how you can develop and grow. And if you can manage that anxiety, you become much more curious, and that really starts to open up your skiing as well. So these strategies are amazing because this isn't just about skiing. It gives you such good strategies in life. I wouldn't be standing on stages in London talking about this unless I'd gone through all this. It gives you a real feeling of being empowered, being confident, and being able to deliver in a way when you want to deliver. And I absolutely love that about it. I had a great client who said to me the other day, Lou, she said, I know it was about ski coaching when I came to you, and I know that the family were buying a chalet, and I was horrified because I could barely get through my week skiing, and did your program, absolutely love it now. But she said, new job at work, big job. bit too big for me. I thought, so I started my job and I got imposter syndrome. I was doubting myself. What am I doing here?
Ooh,
And she said, I just took a
okay.
moment. I thought, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to revisit those strategies I did with Lou. And she said, I put on my big girl's pants and I pulled them right up to my chin and I stepped out there. She said, I am absolutely smashing my job now. I love it. I'm like a new woman. I just have let go of those balls and chains, that anxiety that was holding me back, that limiting self-beliefs, and stepped out there. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and that's so awesome because, you know, we all talk a lot of times in jest about how skiing is life, snowboarding is life, snow sports are life. But sometimes it's true. Some of the things you learn, you can carry on, especially when you're learning like this. So that brings me the learning, and you're talking about your experiences with helping people through this. And at first, it seems like it is as easy to just say, well, I'll put it like this. You said it's not always easy for some of those people to put themselves out there, almost to ask for help. Like, and that's common. People do that all the time. I do it too sometimes. But that's really all it is saying, hey, I need help. And that's it. We go. That's a beautiful thing. Now, they've taken that step. You get there. And again, we're moving down to the more specific. How do you do this, as in, are you in an office setting? Are you out on the hill? Are you just doing seminars, that kind of thing, the actual logistics and meat of it?
So the meat of it, Tim, is I do it on one-to-one coaching online is how it all started. So it would be a situation like this where we can both see each other. We would engage. So I have clients from all over the world. And the first session is just understanding their drive, their motivators to ski, their why really, and what they're looking to come out of this. And it tends to be really emotional. There's something, and I would have been the same 7 or 8 years ago if you'd asked me about skiing. It would make you very emotional. You'd be upset. They'd get very upset when they're talking to me. And it's starting to enable them, as they're voicing their emotions, to get that real clarity about what they want to come out of it. So the first piece is always around looking for that goal. And so a very good example would be a client would say they want to do a particular type of run. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Let's understand why you want to do that particular type of run. That's a very objective goal. And you start to peel back the layers. And actually the layers are because they want to do that type of run because they love being in the mountains. They love walking and hiking in the mountains. And they've stepped into the mountains in the wintertime. They've had some bad experiences. They think it's beautiful, but it's starting to terrify them. And that really goes against their grain. So they're very much an outdoor person. They love the outdoor. They love nature. And yet they're in an environment they feel they should love that gives them a massive amount of anxiety. And so it's enabling that person to really understand, well, what goal are you looking to come out of this? And how will you know when you've got there? And that's a really important piece, because goals aren't about setting a particularly objective thing. It's much more, as I say, about that emotional side of it. How will you know when you've got there? What's it going to feel like? And that gives the forward momentum, because the goal, as I say, is there to give you the forward momentum. It's the journey that you take on the way to the goal and the things you'd learn that are the most valuable part of it. You know, like my goal was to fall back in love with skiing with a family. When I got there, I built up so many other skills along the way that I was already looking for the next goal, thinking, oh, what can I do next with this? Because I was just feeling far more open-minded. I was, thinking I was
awesome.
Curious. So that first piece is really important. It's about understanding what somebody wants to come out of it, and how will they know when they've got there, and how this. So we start to explore their values, why skiing is important to them, why they're wanting to put themselves out there and really work at it, because that's really key, having that level of understanding to that person, so you know how they can create that goal. So that would always be the first piece. So most of my coaching is done with people who have a holiday booked. So over here in the UK, February is a big half-term week or 2 weeks, and it's big family holidays. And that can raise a lot of anxiety. So January, I tend to be busy, and I'll work with clients for 3 or 4 weeks leading up to their holiday, and we'll do 4 coaching sessions online. And then they go off skiing, and they can call me anytime. And then we have a reflective coaching session when they come back. That has started to evolve now. Interesting. So I've now started just group coaching, because I started doing groups of 8 people at the Snow Dome. So there's the indoor snow centres. And that's proved to be really powerful, because the support of each other in the group. So I'm now tending to adopt that. And last year I brought in a new dimension. So I'll bring, not always, but may bring a partner into the final coaching session, which has been hugely valuable. So the partner who's there supporting but not necessarily understanding comes into the final coaching session to really get that level of insight about what role they can play, how far their partner has come, and to get that real understanding. And that has been incredible. That's been produced such positive experiences. So it's always evolving and growing. There is no set formula here. It started off as say online one-to-one, starting to do some more group coaching now, starting to include partners. But just for me, it's just like, how can I spread this word? Because I think there are so many people who could benefit from it and who could just step into it and just feel relaxed and liberated to do it, not feel there's any judgment. There's nothing wrong with being anxious on the slopes. It's a really normal emotion, As you say, you in your day as an expert skier will have had moments of anxiety when you're looking at something.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, God, goodness, there's still days I get a little anxious out there, like this past Black Friday during the Thanksgiving weekend at Killington when everybody was shoulder to shoulder. You get a little anxious, but for me personally, I just let skill take over, experience take over, and I'm not running fast. I'm just kind of cruising along, going between people as needed. I know how to do it. That's why I don't ski on weekends and holidays typically anymore, my friends, because I like to have the place all to myself. It's a beautiful thing when you're off on days that aren't Saturday and Sunday. And as awesome as it is to not ski on weekends, and some people might think it's not so awesome that I break in for these ads. But what is awesome is that I do these ad reads on the fly. And yes, we will get back to Louise talking about our confidence and anxieties on the hill and lack of one and too much of another. But first, we're going to do ads. And because I could do them on the fly, this was the point of telling you I could do them on the fly, I could switch it up. Usually I do the whaleback read first. I do. Whaleback is my home mountain, and I will get to that. But since we were talking to someone from the UK, since I talked about at the beginning my many friends in the UK now, let's talk about another UK friend, Embrace Compression. Embrace.com, IMBRACE.com. Compression. Wonderful products. They make a snow sports legging that is fantastic. I wear it every time I'm out on the hill. It's awesome. The company's from the UK. Jeff, the person who founded it, UK. The leggings were all designed in part. Well, the snow sport legging was designed in part by Shemi Alcott, UK Olympic skier, 4-time Olympic skier. Awesome. Also, both of them have been on the podcast. Check out past episodes for that. But the Embrace Compression snow sports legging is fantastic. What a great way to spend more time, or to help you spend more time on the hill. Compression built in through and through. It's like having built-in knee braces, knee support, hip support, back support, and several other features that just make them wonderful, make you feel so much better while you're skiing and riding. You don't want to take them off. For me, one of my favorites is the boot cut. It doesn't have to go down around my boot, in my boot. It sits above my boot, so it is super comfortable. They fit great. I love them. Plus, because it was designed in part by Shemi Alcott, who is a woman, she actually was able to throw in a few ideas about woman-centric features in it. So dig it. Man or woman, doesn't matter. Check out Embrace.com, IMBRACE.com. Get yourself a pair of snow sports leggings for all your snow sports fun. Alpine, cross country, they'll feel great. Trust me, I love them. And if you're looking ahead, they make a set of leggings for your off-season sports too. I'm going to be wearing mine while I teach myself how to inline skate and everything else, hiking, biking, whatever it is. Embrace has got you covered. You're going to feel good. It's going to make your knees feel good. It's going to make your hips feel good. And we know those things get trashed on the ski slopes. Embrace and Embrace Compression. Check them out. And you can use your Embrace Compression snow sports leggings at Whaleback. Whaleback Mountain, right across the river from the Ski Rex Media HQ in Enfield, New Hampshire. The easiest ski mountain to get to anywhere. Exit 16 off of I-89 in Enfield, New Hampshire. It's right there. People see it from the highway and they say, there's a ski mountain there. I'm going to stop there and check it out. And they do it and they love it. And I suggest that you do so as well. You could go there. They have everything you can want. Everything you can want in a small package. You need easy stuff? you can ski easy stuff. You need more challenging stuff, you can ski more challenging stuff. Groomed runs, natural runs, terrain park, learning area, rental shop, food in the lodge, a Ski Rex Media banner over the one door. They have everything you could ever want and so easy to get to at such a good price. And they are part of the Indy Pass. So if you have an Indy Pass like me, you have 2 days there waiting for you. Also part of the Uphill New England Pass. If you are an uphiller, boom, that's covered. You don't have to do anything except what Uphill New England tells you to do. And you can check out an episode about Uphill New England in the past episodes from last season here on the Ski Rex Media Podcast, and many episodes and social media posts featuring the folks over at Whaleback Mountain and featuring Whaleback Mountain. It's awesome. A lot of fun. Winter, summer. Go over there. Go over there now. I've already skied there this year, and it is great. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again. Whaleback Mountain. Ski it to believe it. Now, back to the program and Miss Louise Pode. So the whole thing sounds very easy. I do want to point out that you said you have clients from all over the world. So it's kind of awesome. Not only that you're talking to me here in the U.S., but if you are in the U.S. and you're looking for this kind of help and support, Louise can set you up because
again, for sure.
Absolutely. And for those who are in Canada or, the Asian countries that listen to Ski Rex Media and the other European nations, and then the United Kingdom, of course, and wherever you're at, Louise can help you out. And it's
Australia,
very good.
Clients in Australia. In fact, my first ever clients in Champoluc in Italy were from Singapore, which was really interesting. Okay. That hadn't been what I expected, and that was great. That was fun. They'd only ever skied in the Himalayas before. They were used to having somebody running up behind them on the T-bars to catch them in case they fell off. It was a very different experience in the Himalayas skiing, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's accessible to anybody who would like it. And what I think is really important, Tim, with all my prospective clients, I will always have a good chat with them beforehand, just to make sure that they're in the right place. This is the right time for them. And just that it's the right program, because that is really key. Having that rapport, feeling that you're in a safe space, because this is a really personal thing when you're kind of starting to talk about emotional things that are impacting on you. And so that initial free conversation, it can be 10 minutes, it can be an hour and a half sometimes, it depends. That's absolutely fine. I'm here to facilitate and to help and support. So whatever format that takes, that's fine. But I think that's a really important conversation. And that's when we talk through the strategies and how it works. And
that's awesome. And I think everybody take the opportunity, take advantage of someone who has that, who knows what's going on in that arena. Like, the best someone like me can do is be like, I get it. And the best I can tell you is I can only put it very simply. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Louise does know what she's talking about and knows how to do this and has been doing that and can help you. Now, it was interesting when you talk about the difference between the objective goal and the emotional goal. Do you see these things change sometimes when they come back? Like, oh, maybe I was shooting for the sky, or maybe I wasn't going far enough. Like, where, you set them up, you have your sessions prior to their ski trip, their holiday, whatever it is. They go, they come back. Now, how, I guess the question is how often do they hit the mark that you all discuss, or do they go further, or do they fall short? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, they're like, I made it to this point and this is actually where I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. In fact, I've just been drawing up some of the feedback that I've been having from clients, and it took me to one particular client who was skiing in Champoluc. That was her family holiday. I was doing the ski coaching up to that point. Now, Champoluc, there's a particular run called the Goat, which is like a main linking run. It's a black run. It starts off, it's very steep and narrow, and it's often where people stop in the middle, and it gets very chaotic and it's very intimidating. And I was just reading this feedback, it just reminded me, and because her goal had been about laughing and sharing a run with her family and with her young boys, and that was her goal. But actually, she'd email me to say, "Oh my God, I just skied the Goat!" ! That was a black. That was incredible. I cannot believe I did that. This is amazing. Yeah. I feel like a whole new woman. I cannot even begin to tell you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that was never a goal for her. That was never a thing I put on her radar, because as far as I'm concerned, that first week when you've done the coaching, it's about nurturing your skiing as opposed to stretching it. It's about building your confidence back up. finding that amazing feeling when you just sort of get that, capture that flow on the mountain. It just gives you that lightness, that amazingness. That's what it was about for her. But actually in doing that, it just meant she naturally progressed and had skied the goat and did it brilliantly. And so, yes, you do get those bigger goals that you weren't expecting, but because you're relaxed and you're not focusing on what colour the poles are and, oh my God, should I be here? What's this like? You're focusing on very different things, which is how you change the mindset. Changing your focus is part of that. But then I will have other clients who will halfway through the week ring me up and say, oh, I've just had an absolute shocker. I feel like I've gone backwards. It's just gone pear-shaped this morning. And we'll just have a refreshing session and we'll just help realign and focus on the small wins, and then off they go again. And I've not had any clients who haven't come out of the week achieving that emotional goal that they set out to achieve. And often, as I say, other things come out of it as well, which is amazing. But because you only want to have one goal, and you want one that's really deep, that's really aligned with your values, and that's the goal that we focus on. And after that, the rest, the magic happens. It literally just happens.
That's awesome. See, and that's a beautiful thing. You never know where you might end up. And I do want to say, to that point of someone calling you like midweek and saying, I need a little refresher, so to speak, just simply put. It's not always easy work. And I think, as I've been hyping through the episode here, I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying, second you talk to Louise, you'll be perfect. There is work involved. Yes.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay. Exactly. And that's what I want people to know. It's not easy, at all. And that's anxiety as a general, piece of, generally speaking about anxiety, it's a lot of work. Sometimes you pass, sometimes you fail, but the trick is to keep working. That I know.
Yeah. That is so true. And I call it's like a mindset gym. We go to the gym to get ourselves fit, but this is a mindset gym. And the more you practice those strategies, the easier they become. So to change your mindset, you're looking at changing what you focus on. So rather than focusing on things that make you anxious, you focus on things that make you calm. You change your physiology. So by deep breathing, you can calm that mind down. So almost in the moment, particularly if you bring visualization in. And then you manage that inner chatter, that voice that's going, oh my, what are you doing? What are you doing? You shouldn't be here. You can't ski. You're hopeless. You're rubbish. This is too steep for you. You manage that inner chatter. You can't eliminate it. It's your emotional brain. It's part of who you are. So we really work on lots of different strategies that you can pull on that will just really anchor you in a calmer place, so you can just relax into it and just start to really enjoy it and get that flow and get that feeling. And then, as I say, the rest will follow. But that's a really important piece. And so when a client rings me up half a week, and actually only 2 have ever rung me up, we go through all that again. We just have a refresh and we reflect and say what went well, what didn't go so well, because it's important to focus on the small wins. It's very easy to say, oh, it's rubbish, or I can't do it, that massive write it all off. Whereas actually, no, let's explore that actually. Which bits did go well, and what would you do differently next time? How can you learn from this? So that's kind of building that resilience piece. How can you learn and grow from it rather than just get back to where you were, which for me, I do a lot of resilience coaching here in the UK. I think that's really, really important, that curiosity. How can I do things differently? Don't see it as an overwhelming challenge that's defeating you. See it as an amazing learning opportunity, because you haven't gone through that. You wouldn't be looking at different ways of doing it, which will enable you to, just really feel the benefits.
Sure. And it's perfect. The work is there. Just do it. You'll be okay. And again, I'm simplifying. It is hard work. But it can be done is my point. And it's kind of awesome. Do you ever this is more of a fun one. You say it's more online, face-to-face kind of talking, not on the snow. Would you rather be doing it more often on the snow, just as a skier who wants to be out there?
Well, it's interesting you say that. There's nothing like combining your passion with your hobby. So I do run ski retreats. So historically, I started off in Champoluc in northern Italy before lockdown, and where I would take a group of women, would do the coaching online ahead of time, and then we go and we work with the ski instructor. That's not my bit. I'm not responsible on the slopes. I'm not the technical person here, but we'd do coaching in the morning, and then they would go off and have their 3 or 4 hours on the slopes, and then we'd do some reflective coaching to look at what was going well, what was working for them, what different strategies we can use. And that's really powerful because you're working as a group. And so this year I'm going to be doing that in Leger. I've just partnered with a new company called Ski Weekends, and it also looks like I'm going to
Okay.
be doing one in Andorra with Nielsen, who are a big holiday company over here, do fantastic active holidays. And I'm really, really hoping to find an opportunity to come and do it in the States, because I think it would be incredible in the States. Because I think, as a population, you have a really strong ski community. People were so friendly. You really understand the whole concept behind coaching. It's relatively new in the UK. It's been around for maybe 10, 15 years in the UK. But in
Okay.
America, you're really good at knowing and understanding yourselves and that journey of self-discovery and how valuable that is. And so I think you would be an amazing audience. So I'm just looking at those opportunities at the moment. So if anybody has got anything that they think I would be helpful towards that particular goal, I would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Get Louise here to the U.S. We'll all go out and we'll have a good time skiing in various places, as long as it's in New England. I don't get out west much, but that's a whole other story as to why. And that's a practicality and logistics thing, really, for me. So you got all this going. You've been doing well. You've been doing great. We could talk about the future of what you're doing a little bit. You just mentioned, again, the world is getting smaller and smaller. Louise has been in contact, talked to, is also a friend of our friend, Kimberly Kay, author and illustrator of Skiing A to Z, and Dr. Carol Porter, who is also working with Kim and is now going to work with you. So shout out to Kim and Carol. How's the future look?
The future looks really amazing. So fantastic. Carol has just become an international ski instructor, which means that she can go and work anywhere in Europe. And so she's really into, because she did the FIR project as part of her qualifications. So she's really had an in-depth look at women and anxiety, based around Rossendale, the ski slopes up in the north in Lancashire. So she and I are really aligned. So this is what I love about this. So we're now collaborating and we're going to work together. As I say, there's the Vale Resorts who invited me out to the Snowbound. We're looking about doing some work together there. So who knows where it'll go? I'm just really open-minded. For me, it's about sharing the message and just getting it out there and just looking at ways of facilitating. So I have an Instagram account called @FreeToSki. So I'm always posting tips on there. I'm going to be releasing my Ski with Confidence book, because I already have a coaching book called How to Get There, your personal coaching guide to take you to the next level, which shares a lot of the strategies. But I want to do a more specific one to skiing, which I'm going to be releasing sometime over the next couple of months. Just to, and I am also looking, this is exciting, Tim, I am looking at doing it as an e-learning package as well. So doing it as an e-learning course, so that you can take yourself, because that makes it so much more accessible again, because obviously then, the price point is lower and it means that people can do it in their own time. So it's just looking at different ways of sharing, so people can just have a great time with their families and enjoy and be part of that family and be part of those team experiences and love it.
And that's a wonderful thing, especially if you have a family who does it. Shout out to those who do. I know, like I said, I know plenty of parents who are my friends whose kids, and they're doing it with their grandkids. I go to mountains where you have 3-4 generations on the hill all at once. A lot of fun. My family doesn't ski much, if at all. I have a couple cousins, but that's about it. And we don't get to go often because they live in a completely different part of the country, because the U.S. is so big. We're not as big as Canada. We're not as big as Russia, but we got some travel time here, my friends. But it's a beautiful thing. And Louise has a lot going on and a lot of ways to get the information out. She just mentioned book and courses. How do people get a hold of you? How do people find your books? Anything else? Where you're going to be? How do people find this out? Let's do that part.
So I have my website is called Pro Ability. When you put it into Google search, it'll say probability. When it's not probability, ignore that. Just stick with Pro Ability.
Okay.
And
you'll find, I see it now.
You'll see all the information about my courses and what I'm doing. I also have a personal website called Louise Pode Coaching, which is where my book sits, and I do a lot of personal development coaching through that. So that's more my personal side. And then I'm on Instagram @FreeToSki, and I will be on TikTok. That is one of my missions. I will crack TikTok, because I think TikTok would be an amazing platform for this. And that's something that's going to be on my stretch zone, is learning and understanding TikTok, because I think it's, for this type of thing, it's just sharing, talking. It's a really brilliant platform for that. So proability.co.uk. You can email me anytime at louise.pode@proability.co.uk. You can find me on @Free2Ski. Always happy to chat and link up there. And you can also find me on my loupodecoaching.com website too. And I love having a conversation. You can probably tell I'm quite passionate about this. I'm always happy to pick up the phone and have a chat with anybody who wants to talk about it and their experiences and what's worked, what hasn't worked for them. Always happy to chat.
Awesome. And I mean, I love chatting. Like, I live to talk. So if you're like me, and again, that's a lot of different places. So check the description. We'll have all the links for you out there. Proability.cu.uk, not just the regular old .com that we're all used to.
Yeah,
.co.uk.
.co.uk.
Yeah. That's right. You learn your international domains, my friends. There are a lot of them. Here's to Web3 making that easier on us one day, maybe. I don't know. But that's so much to do, and such a great goal, such a wonderful goal, a lofty goal, getting into TikTok. I'm just going to hire one of my friends' teenagers to figure that out for me. I can't. But somebody will figure it out for me. But great goal, getting out there, using social media again as it was intended to get, the social part, not the silly part.
Yeah.
And it's great, and many websites for you to get in touch with Louise. Awesome. Well, Louise, is there anything we missed that you want to go over? Anything fun going on there in the UK you got going on?
Oh, well, we've got Christmas looming in the UK, so that's exciting. We love Christmas in the UK. It's a big deal over here, like a really big deal. It gets us through the winter. It's all pretty dark and pretty miserable, and the snow has arrived in the Alps. That's really exciting. Just thinking, can we nip away for maybe 3 days next week? The pre-Christmas. It's always really quiet. It's great value. Very tempting. So it's very exciting because the snow has been a bit erratic, it's fair to say, over the last couple of years. So that's really good news. And I just think, I'm just loving this being and discovering this amazing ski community, and the fact it's gone from the UK market to the American market for me is really exciting. So yeah, there's lots of exciting things going on in my world at the moment. So loving it. And Tim, it was so good to catch up with you at Snowbound as well.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I love that show. There's people there from all over the world. Fun fact, if you didn't know, but I'm sure I've mentioned it, and you've heard Steve Morgan on this program talk about Snowbound, that is a UK company. They come over from England. It's one of the most interesting commutes I've ever heard. Instead of just going down the old motorway in the morning, you're now going across the ocean. And I love meeting people from around the world anyway. It's a lot of fun. And then we just meet people in general. Louise has also stories where I think you talked to Dan Egan a little bit. Did you not?
Yeah, I did. And Nicole from Ski Moms and have just had a blog written by Wendy on Ski Divas. So just great, just such a fantastic community. Absolutely loved it. And I think that's it. Everybody's out there, everybody's supporting each other. There's quite a few of us out there who are running businesses as women within skiing. Over here we've got Louise Waldron, who runs amazing ski wear called Snow Fennell, and then there's another physio who's doing a lot of work around pelvic floors and women in skiing called Sarah Tyler, who's amazing. There are lots of women who are really working hard, and I think it's about us, gaining that traction and creating those opportunities to ski in a way that we can love and enjoy, because the mountains are stunning. It's such a privilege to be up there, isn't it? And to be up there not feeling anxious is even better. It's funny, Tim, I had this, I'm sure, how much you skied in Europe, but Val d'Isère is a big resort, and there's a very famous black run in Val d'Isère called La Face, which is famously awful. And I found myself on La Face about 15 years ago, and it was like an ice rink, a Mowgli ice rink, and I was terrified, and I fell, and I thought I was going to literally die. I didn't know when I was going to stop. The whole thing was really horrific, and it became my real nemesis. And then we were skiing there 2 years ago with the family, and my son had done a ski season around there years ago, and he said, "Mum, let's go and ski all four corners of the resort." So found myself back on La Face. Everybody was ahead of me, and my daughter was behind me, and she'd caught a tip, and so didn't fall, but there was a loud outcry. So I turned around, lost my balance, and shot across this piste like a rat of a drain pipe. Landed upright, but on a mogul, literally feeling like a bald eagle on a gatepost, perched on it. this cruddy off piece in front of me, this whole run down to my right. And I just felt, this was only, I just felt all those emotions coming back, those negative emotions that I'd had. And I was like, no, 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 I am going to be fine. This is fine. So I looked up, I took in a deep breath, all that cool mountain air. I thought, this is really good. Here with the family, isn't it amazing? Just calm everything down. Let's have a look at how everybody else is doing it. I can do this. I've got a plan. So just settled everything, calm my whole physiology down. Made a plan to just side slip off this mogul, not try and turn, get myself to the other side of the run, and then stop again and make another plan. So a couple of stops like that, got myself down.
Sure.
The family were literally weighted with bated breath. You can see that they, normal expectation when they skied with me before was I would be, oh my God, I hate this, I can't ski, this is awful. I'd be in tears. And I got down there, I was like, wow. That was incredible. I cannot even begin to tell you. That was so liberating. That run is like the worst run in my life, and I have absolutely smashed it. I have cracked it.
Good.
That is brilliant, and that is what it's all about. That is so liberating to be able to do that, to have that level of control over something that overwhelmed you to that degree. And that is the very essence for me of what this is all about, that you can do it, and you can do it in a way that you know is really manageable because you really worked at it. So yeah, and it just creates that magic, doesn't it? I mean, the Alps are so beautiful, and I'm sure, as you say in America, when the sun's out, where else would you want to be? Particularly with your family and friends. And we, in Europe, we're big into our Glühwein and Aperol Spritz and all these nice places to stop on the slopes. They're very social with the skiing over here in Europe.
Sure.
It's always really lovely. Always really lovely.
One day I'll get to Europe and ski.
Have you not
been?
I've
never been. I've never been. I don't. That's part of the logistics issue of why I don't ski out west much. Those mountains are much higher than what I can handle. I do get the altitude sickness quite easy, my friends.
Yeah.
So once we're getting around 6,000-7,000, it doesn't work for me. About
So we're talking about
2,500.
Yeah. That's about where you're at, really. Well, I was going to say, you need an invite from Dan Egan to his place in Valdesair, don't you?
I do. Shout out to Dan. I love him. He loves us. It's great.
We all do.
He's all over
That'd
the place.
Be nice. I
don't think there's anybody in this here world that Dan doesn't consider a friend and who doesn't know him. The man is like Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. I asked him if he was going to be at the Killington race. He said no, he was somewhere else and then somewhere else. And I'm like, the guy's everywhere all at once. It's amazing. He's great. Also, shout out to Wendy Clinch, one of the most popular guests on the Ski Rex Media Podcast, theskediva.com. And Kim and Carol and everybody else. We're all friends. We're all great. Again, skiing, social sport. Love it. One day I will get to Europe and tackle that. In the lower elevations, of course. Again, once we get to 7,000 feet, which is 3,000 meters, it's 2,500, 3,000 meters ish. It gets a little much for me, but I can figure it out. And I've always wanted to go to Australia. In fact, someone once said to me, Innsbruck, that's your town. And I was like, all right, Innsbruck, I'll get there eventually.
Austria is funny. Yep. I think, Tim, the other thing, just thinking about that, how you find that heights, so when you're, the really high heights are a struggle for you because of the oxygen levels and things. I also do quite a lot of work around people who have a fear of heights, because I too have had a real problem with fear of heights on chairlifts. I've never gone a chairlift on my own. And, all these things about the mountains that can really be real barriers for you are things you can overcome. Often with my clients, they feel that the mountains, they're foe, it's terrifying, it's steep, it's this, that, and the other. The chairs that swing high up. But actually, by the time they've gone through their week and they've gone through all this, that actually the mountains are that they give them that whole peace and mindfulness, and it's completely, you view it completely differently, which is amazing, which is where we all should be at, rather than fearing it. But skiing at altitude, you say, is quite different because it can make you feel really unwell and you don't sleep and lightheaded.
It's something to get. You do get used to it. The thing is, for those who don't experience this, it really is just being able to plan 2 or 3 days on the beginning of your trip so you can acclimate slowly and you feel better about it. Drink a lot of water and don't drink alcohol. If I know people like to go do their opera thing, have some wine, other drinks, a couple beers, whatever it is. Don't drink it. You'll feel a lot better about it when you're up that high. The heights thing has always been interesting to me, because I've had people who don't do this sport or any mountain sport, They're like, is being at the top of the mountain scary? I'm like, no. If you hike up a mountain, you're always on the ground. That's not your problem. It is the lift that is your problem. And I have seen people go into full panic mode. They sit down on the chair and they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then, or in the gondola or in the tram or whatever, you know, conveyance you may use. Then they look down. And it's like, don't look down. Just actually don't look around, close your eyes, because that's all you can do. I was like, that's the difference. That's actually an interesting thing to me. And again, once you get off the chair, your feet are on the ground. Very interesting that you handle that too.
Oh yeah, no, I do.
What you do.
Yeah, there's a very famous chair in Courchevel that goes up and up and up, and it's a big Instagram chair. And what you don't realise if you're doing it for the first time, it goes up and up and up, and then you don't get off at the top, it comes down the other side. So you're literally suspended like 60, 70, 80 feet in the air with this whole valley down below you. And it's a hot, you know, if you're not good at that, it can be a horrible feeling. Yeah, no, definitely. Because with chairlifts, you can get on there feeling, I'm going to be fine, it's going to be calm, I'm going to manage this. But then you grab hold of the bars, you hang on really tight. And because your thoughts aren't matching your actions, that creates a real dichotomy. It's like you need to create the whole relaxed persona. Some really good strategies that I'm always happy to talk about how to manage chairlifts, because that can be something that will put people off. But there are ways of doing it. And believe you me, I was that person too. But now I'm really happy with them. I'm really happy.
See, and the thing is, it's really interesting, my friends. And now, again, never physically been to Europe, but I have seen these chairs and different trams, and I look at them as engineering marvels. Like, we have some cool stuff here in the US where, you know, trams go to these top of these mountains. You wonder how they built the top station, and you wonder how they got the towers drilled into the side of the mountain. We ain't got nothing on what they have over there for engine. I think some of the chairs that are in Europe are, again, for me, they're engineering marvels. I just sit there. I'm like, how did someone figure out how to build this? And then how did you build it? But when you see the ride, they go to places that they look, for someone who'd be afraid of heights, I would assume, would just blow your mind. But the fun factor there is, I'm pretty sure, actually, I'm almost definitely sure, in Europe, they use surface lifts a lot more often. So your T-bars, your disc lifts, your Poma lifts, your everything, you can keep your feet on the ground too. So that's a lot of fun too. And Louise can help you with all of that. Again, all of her links will be in the description. Miss Louise, thank you very much for being on the program. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. So absolutely delighted to be here. Yeah, really appreciate it too. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And we'll check in with Louise again, obviously, because we all stay friends. Louise is here now. Kim will always be back. She's always a part of Ski Rex Media, even stuff that has nothing to do with skiing. We talked about the Queen at the time of the Queen's passing and did a whole episode about that, because there was no way I was getting to London to see this. So she was there. So she told us all about it. Dr. Carol Porter, the friends at Raccoon Media, everybody over in the UK, enjoy. Louise is there for you, and she's there for everyone in the world. Again, Miss, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much, Tim.
And there she goes, our new friend, Louise Pode, a coach over there in the UK, adding to my list of contacts and friends over in the UK, which includes Kimberly Kay, Dr. Carol Porter, the folks at Raccoon Media, and a slew of other folks. Benjamin Alexander, the first Olympic skier for Jamaica, also, I think, was born and raised over there. So, you know, it's a big thing here at Ski Rex Media to have those friends and those fans over there. It's just interesting that we live in a world where I can do this podcast here from the HQ here in this small town, Vermont, and have a huge following over there on the other side of the ocean. It's very interesting to me. I mean, you could say the world is getting smaller, and I think there might be some issues to that as well. But hey, at least we all speak the same language, so that makes it a lot easier. Am I right? So check out all Louise Pode has to offer. Go ahead into the description. You can find links to her website, her contact information. As she said, she will coach you through these anxious times of getting into skis, back onto skis, being with your family who out skis you and you're not sure how to handle it. anywhere in the world, she can work with you to get you that confidence, to get you out there doing what you need to do to enjoy such a wonderful sport, a sport that we all love, the sport that we all participate in. Well, not all. I think there are a few listeners of the Ski Rex Media podcast who do not ski, snowboard, telemark, cross country, just don't really do snow sports other than sledding, which is fine too, or snowmobiling. That's fine too. However you want to enjoy the snow, we're here for it, and I'll join you as best as I can. I don't know how to do everything, and I talk about that a lot too, and that's something we'll talk about here as we go along. Now, thank you again for joining the Ski Rex Media podcast, my friends and fans. I do appreciate it. If you would like an ad-free version of this program, head to patreon.com/skirexmedia. The paid tiers have an ad-free version of this podcast and every episode of the podcast, and you get it on Sunday, so you get a little early. That must have been a little weird for those who listened to last week's episode with Nordic Nate when you are on Patreon and hear Happy New Year, because yes, his general audience episode debuted on New Year's Day, but it was the Sunday prior, which was still in December, so that might have been a little weird. So there might be something I have to work out with the ad-free version, but I don't know. I think we're pretty good, and there's been no complaints. So go ahead and check that out. Also, if you would go to Patreon, I do want to get back into the newsletter writing. I want to get back into regular, like blog writing, article writing, all that. How does that have anything to do with Patreon? Well, for the blog writing, the article writing, that kind of thing, I'm going to have some that are free for the public. I'm also going to have some that are behind the paywall. So that'll be part of your subscription if you go to Patreon. Also, the newsletter, I would like that to go to people who sign up for free. Instead of actually doing a newsletter, I feel like it would be easier for me, since I use Patreon anyway, to put it all there, and I could put it in like blog form. You know, I could use their blog service to put up a post, and boom, there's your newsletter, and it will be, you know, they'll send you the email that says it's up, and you can see it. People do subscribe to the Ski Rex Media newsletter, but I think this would be easier on me. As a one-man operation, a one-man show, I'm trying to streamline everything, and I think that will help streamline that. So please, if you already subscribe to the Ski Rex Media newsletter, or if you'd like to subscribe to it, just head over to Patreon. You can sign up for free. You don't have to be on one of the paid tiers for that. And then I can start working that out over there, and then you can also get previews and check out everything else. Plus, some of what is behind the paywall will be available as its own piece of work that will be for sale in the shop. All kinds of things going on over there, and I really like the platform. I'm starting to like it more the more they add to it. So check that out, please. Patreon.com/SkiRexMedia. If you'd like to get in touch with Ski Rex Media, you can do it through there. You can send me a DM through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn if you'd like. You could also send an email. The email address here at Ski Rex Media is contact@skirexmedia.com. You can send me an email and I will get back to you if you need me to. Questions, queries, comments, concerns, criticisms, and otherwise, go ahead and send that to me. If you'd like to use the voicemail, you can go to speakpipe.com/skirexmedia and you can send a voicemail in. And if you want it used, or if I can use it on the podcast, I will do that. I think that would work well. I've had a few people, including one of the folks from skitalk.com use it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So go ahead and check that out. Links are in the description for me. Links are in the description for Louise. Thank you again for joining Ski Rex Media and the Ski Rex Media podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. Check out past episodes if you haven't. Check out your local ski hill or your travel ski hills, whichever way you want to do it. Get out there. I've already shot myself in the foot for one trip. I hope not to do it again. It's just kind of, that's what happens, man. Murphy's Law. Not that I'm making excuses. I just shot myself in the foot, figuratively speaking, of course. I'll get back on track for the slopes as soon as possible. But you know what? Follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn. You can see some of those adventures. And YouTube. I'm trying to do the YouTube thing again. We'll see how well that works. Subscribe everywhere you'd like, everywhere you can, including to the podcast on Podbean or your favorite podcast app. And I will see you out there, my friends. Have a good day, good week, good whenever, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. And I'll see you out there, guys. Later.